Welcome back to the Bible Reading Project, sliding into Friday with my great friend Derrick right here. Hoping to inspire you to read the Bible every single day, zero excuse. We've been in James chapter 3 all week. I hope you've been reading all 18 verses every day. That's what we ask you to do because we believe every day it just speaks clearly. But we want to hang on a subject today. We opened up yesterday maybe a can of worms in life because a lot of us, and even in my own life, so we're going to try to just go back there today and maybe talk through it a little more. Here's what we've said all week long. Little things have a big impact, and we've been talking about that. Derrick's life, he and Valerie, his wife, on the mission field. Little things have a great impact. And then over time, our daily habits do have profound and lasting impact. Then my mouth, we talked about, our mouth being a blessing and a curse. And then this one kind of stung a mite.
Yep.
Bitterness brings bondage. And, when we finished yesterday, Derrick said, that's a deep subject to try to end in just a 10-minute video or so. And I have to agree with him that bitterness is a difficult subject to talk about because of that, what I said yesterday. I just feel justified, man. I've been done wrong. I've been hurt. And it can even go deep beyond words, right? It can go into actions that have been done.
Right.
All through my years of trying to help people in ministry, Robin and I've dealt with abuse, sexual abuse, molestation, rape, suicides. And the bitterness that life can bring against us when it doesn't go our way, right? And I would love to say the moment you worship Jesus, everything goes your way. But it just always doesn't go my way.
Right.
But what I have found out, those that know my story, my wife Monica was killed by a drunk driver. And when you're burying a wife, it doesn't feel like life's going your way.
Right.
It just feels like, no, man, I've been screwed over and it's not worth living. And I've even talked to some young girls in the past that have, been molested by an uncle or a father or a boyfriend that's been too sexual with them, and just the bitterness they hold on to. And the thing about bitterness brings bondage is we may actually be removed from the situation, right? Like we've grown up, or the father that molested me, I'm now out of the house, or the uncle that did it, he's now dead. And so it's kind of, the threat is gone,
right?
But the memory of that stays, and it grows and it festers. And the thing about it, if I never deal with it, which is what we want to try to help today, is how do we practically deal with it?
Yeah.
It shows up everywhere.
Right.
It shows up in new relationships. I'm gonna make you pay for this person back here.
Right. Even though I did nothing.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Because I'm justified in it.
Right.
So, the bitterness brings bondage are the walls we put up, the insecurities we build. Because when I refuse to let something go that I feel justified to hold on to by saying you owe me, or maybe you don't owe me, but I'm definitely going to be very guarded, which is, you need to be. If somebody's hurt you, you need to be guarded about that. But if I don't really let it go, it shows up everywhere.
Right.
I don't trust anybody. I'm in my new relationship with my spouse, and sexual intimacy is difficult. I can't really open up because I'm so guarded, and I don't ever want to be hurt like that again. And I've said that myself. I don't ever want to be hurt like that again. And so it's easy to become guarded. So I just maybe get your brain around something and your thought, but one way practically that you think a person who's been hurt, and that can be physically, emotionally, spiritually, I think you mentioned, just with words, that people can say things. But practically, what advice would you give to help someone know how to let it go? Because we can say, just let it go.
Right.
But it's like, dude, I'm not letting it go because it's a threat if I let it go.
Right.
But how could you encourage someone? What step could they take to begin a journey? Yeah. And I think it is a journey, right?
Is.
I mean,
it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Even when you bless somebody,
right.
Like, okay, and they may have prayed that prayer yesterday. Okay, I bless them.
Right.
But even when you do that, every time you see them, you're still ticked, right?
Right.
Or you want to avoid them. You see them in aisle 4 in Publix.
Right.
You're like, I'm going to go to aisle 6, right? I don't want to see them.
Right.
So give me something practical that you think, maybe a young girl's listening or a young guy, and just or maybe an adult's just been hurt by church, hurt by leaders, hurt by a husband or wife. Give me something practical that can be done to let it go.
Well, when you start out, basically what you want to do is begin to speak life as much as you can.
Explain that.
A lot of people think that you have to speak life and it be completely forgiving them and that you're done with. No, sometimes forgiveness takes time. God, I may not forgive them now, but please help me to forgive them more today than I did yesterday. So every day you're speaking blessing, because the opposite is true. We speak cursing daily. It grows and it festers and then we hold on to it. So the more, in my case, where things hurt me, as much as I could pray for it, pray about it, speak blessing over that person, like you said with your dad telling you when your bike was stolen, speak blessing over them as much as you can. You don't have to say or do it all at once. Lord, I speak blessing over, said person today. And then if they really did something like really bad to you that has really affected you, you might want to write a letter out and begin to just say, hey, I forgive you for, and you just begin to put it down. So the more you think about it, the more you speak about it, the more you write about it, the more you put it down, getting it out. I think that's the biggest thing is getting it out. Because a lot of people hold stuff in.
Oh, sure.
And when they hold it in, that bitterness begins to grow. But the more you can get it out, whether it's getting it out to God in prayer, sometimes screaming, God, you know what my uncle did to me, and it hurt, and getting it out. But the more you get it out, the more you can begin to be free. And that's doing what this whole week is about, the little things to make a big impact. The little thing of speaking it out, speaking a blessing, even when you don't feel it, it'll make a big impact later.
Yeah,
on
that's
your
great.
life.
Something I did and Robin and I did in our life dealing with bitterness, right? Because once it takes hold, it's going to grow like a cancer.
Absolutely.
One thing I know about bitterness, it never gets smaller.
Right.
It just grows and overtakes you, and overtakes everything.
It's like kudzu.
Yeah, you become dysfunctional, right? It's like kudzu or bad pizza.
Kudzu grows so fast.
Oh, I know.
You
can watch it grow.
You can watch it grow.
Yeah. And, you can the thing about bitterness, you can't hide it either. It comes out in every conversation. It comes out, man, any opportunity to blast the person, say something, hold it against them, never trust. I want to give some things that I've learned over the years that have helped me deal with bitterness. The first one was that my dad taught me to bless.
Right.
And I was hurt. And I don't ever want to pretend like I haven't hurt people. I'm a human, but things that have been done to me that I've had to learn to let go of as well. Practically, here are three things I still do to this day. I laid in bed at night and I would say, God, that person where there's that strife and there's that hurt, I said, I just bless them. I would call their name and I would say, I don't even know what they're doing right now. I don't even know if they're serving you or not, or if they're mad at me or like me or don't like me, but it doesn't matter. I think that's that word humility, right? I just don't care. I just want you to bless them, bless their life, bless their marriage, bless their businesses, bless everything their hand touches. And do you know that I did that every night for nearly 2 years? It didn't feel better at first. I just had to do it to remind myself that the blessing out of my mouth is humility.
Correct.
If I don't bless, then my humility turns to selfish ambition. I'm not blessing them.
Right.
So for nearly 2 years, laying in bed at night, I would just speak a blessing. I'll never forget, it was January. I won't call the year, but it was in January, and I'd been doing it consistently, and I heard the Lord say this, you can let it go now. And I just felt so free. Well, it took me 2 years of saying it, but I literally felt like, oh, wow, man. And I heard, you can let it go now. The second thing I did in learning to let go of the bitterness, and this is a practical thing as well, is my family and I were going through a hard time once, and it was affecting the girls, me, Robin, and I could tell bitterness was getting in, the yang going about people. And so I called the girls together, and I love what you said because we did that. I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a piece of paper, And I want you to write down either the person or the hurt on that piece of paper and why you think they owe you something. So all of my daughters did it. Robin did it. I did it. The girls did it. And we took those pieces of paper with the person's name and the hurt, and we put them in a trash bag. And we went out back. We dug a hole, and we said, once and for all, we're letting these people go. They don't owe us anything. They don't owe us an excuse, and they will not be part of our future and destiny as far as the bitterness, not the people.
Right.
There's still, people in my life like that. But the bitterness of it is not going to be part of our life, and we buried it. It's a practical thing we can do.
Absolutely.
And then the third thing I think is just you got to grow up to do this, and it takes humility. It's counseling.
Yep.
You said it. You can't just hold it in.
Right.
Now, whether that's a pastor or a counselor, a psychologist, man, I'm just going to encourage you. You have to talk to somebody.
Yep.
I'll handle it on my own. It just never works really well at all. And so those three things, what Derrick said, here's what we want to leave you with. And we felt like we needed to take a little more time to talk about this. But here's what I want you to take away today. If you are bitter, hurt, and you are justifiable in it, right? I mean, there's no excuse of what was done to you or said to you. But I think Derrick and I would both encourage you that there's hope beyond it.
Right.
And there's freedom beyond it. And it doesn't have to affect your destiny and your outcome and your future. So here's some practical things you can do. Number one, talk to God every day about it.
Yep.
Help me, God. Help me forgive. And you know what? The Lord never gets tired of you talking with him about it.
Exactly.
And then what Derrick said, number two, maybe write it out in a letter. And maybe take that letter and write it out. And, just the hurt and all. And you might have to seal it and put it in a drawer. But sometimes it helps to write the hurt and just get it out of your heart, that it grows in you. Then the third thing, just bless them. And I know, man, that's going to sting.
It's hard.
I know it's going to feel so unfair. It's going to feel so unfair to go, you got to be kidding. I cannot bless that person that hurt me. And I go, I know. I'm not asking you to feel it. I'm just asking you to do what Jesus said. Bless those who've done you wrong, those that have cursed you, your enemy that you hate, love them anyway. Then, how about this? People may think you're a little strange, but I'm telling you it works. Why don't you take all that bitterness, write it out on a piece of paper, put it in a bag, Ziploc, maybe a trash bag if it's a lot of hurt, put it in a bag. Why don't you take it somewhere to the dump, out back of your house, get a shovel, dig a hole, and tell God, man, and I wrote this down, once and for all, I have to let it go.
Yep.
And there's just something freeing about that,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Just I let it go. These people owe me nothing. They don't owe me one thing in my life. And I'm telling you, if you'll do those practical things, and then this may take a bigger step of humility, because a lot of people feel like I can do this on my own. I would highly encourage you to get into counseling. Talk to somebody. Let a trained professional help you. Maybe a pastor help you spiritually. Even beyond just a friend.
Exactly.
Sometimes we need people who can really help pull us through. Hey, man, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this week. I do hope you come back. I hope we do it again together. It's been an honor to share the mic with you, talking about James chapter 3. And we thank you for tuning in with us all week long. We appreciate it. We will be back next week on Monday, hoping to inspire you to read the Bible every day, zero excuse. And we do hope it's working. And hey, remember, as I always say, if you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. And if anybody comes across my path today that needs you, may I ever be so bold to lead them to you. Have a great weekend.